Hey guys, I'm Chef T Max. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to do a simple kind of one pan dish, if you will. We're going to clean the pan, but I'm going to do a nice little sauteed beef with some mushrooms, and I'm roasting some pumpkin. So it's going to be really nice. Let's check it out. If you guys are not subscribing to me, click that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and ring that bell, and I'll show you a lot more stuff that I've got. So I'll see you back soon. All right, guys, here we go. Let's get this thing started. So I've got a hot pan here getting ready. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in it. Let the oil start getting warm as well. And I'm going to start with some onions. There's nothing better than beef tenderloin and caramelized onions. So we're not going to caramel them like kind of like how we do it as intense for a French onion soup. But I'm going to go somewhere just short of that, okay? What I want to do is taking the onion, I have it here, and I slice the onion in thin kind of strips. Doesn't have to be paper thin. And then I'm just going to set those in there, right? Now, some of the other stuff that we're going to do, we've got these beautiful mushrooms. These are a little white hanjamiji mushroom, a white kind of Japanese mushroom. I take these out like this, and I'm going to cut the stems off of those, and the body of that, this big chunk here, we're going to put this to the side. You can use that for stocks if you're working on any stocks or something, or you know you're going to be working on some in the next few days. Can go into a chicken stock, can go into beef stock, fish stock even. So you can use that. That does have flavor in it and a beautiful aroma too. So if you have a little container, you can put this stuff in the freezer like a stock kit, where you put extra celery. Like if you have celery that's going to go bad, or carrots are going to go bad because you're going out of town, chop them up, put them in a container, freeze them, and then throw stuff like in there with it. So if it's frozen in there, take this, throw that in there with it. Then when you go to make these stocks, you just pull that out and it's all in there frozen together. So it's really easy to do. So we're going to mash these down here a little bit. Now I'm going to add a little bit of pepper and salt to those. So I've got some black pepper here. I've got some salt over here too. Probably like just a nice pinch of salt and pepper. Now those mushrooms we're not going to put in there yet. We're just chopping those up. Now here is something that you see in the markets sometime when they've kind of the peas, the snap peas or the snow peas or the English peas have been harvested. A lot of times they'll take some of the young plants, the young parts of the plants, and cut those down. So these are just called pea greens. So this is just the hardy greens from the pea plant. And you'll see these in the grocery store sometimes. I find them a lot in the Asian grocery store because a lot of different Asian cultures use pea greens a lot, and it's so tasty. It's like eating fresh peas. So really nice. See, we're caramelizing these nicely. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of butter in there too, because butter doesn't hurt, right? Okay, beautiful. And we're just going to cook that. I love when butter gets on my finger. But take this butter and move it around in here. The fats in there will let out, give a little liquid to this so it doesn't burn right off the bat. Okay, and we're going to let this saute for about a couple minutes, and then we'll be right back and we'll see how it's doing. See you back in a second. Okay guys, it's been up about 3 minutes and the onions have kind of become nice and translucent. They're gonna probably, they've lost a lot of their liquid, so they're gonna start to stick and brown soon. And for this, like I said, for this, we don't want to really look to get this hard caramelization on this because we're going to eat this with the peas and the mushrooms. So I'm going to kind of leave it lighter. I'm at this point going to throw all of our mushrooms in there like this. So they look beautiful, right? And I'm going to let those cook in there for a second. Okay. The pea greens aren't going to take very long. Those are going to be seconds. So what we can do is we can cut them up though. So let's do that. So let's take these greens, and what we want to do is we want them small, right? So I'm just going to cut them to this. I'm almost like just chiffonading down the body of the pea itself, right? So that's what it looks like. And then I'm going to use all these because they'll wilt down. They're not going to wilt down as much as spinach is, but this is going to be our green on the dish. And this is really what we want to get. This is where we're going to get all of our nutrition from in this dish. This earthy nutrition is from these beautiful greens. So you can see we're just cutting it down like this. All right, and I'll leave this on the cutting board. When we're ready to go in the pan, we're going to go ahead and put it in. Now I've washed these really good in water because sometimes there's stuff in there like this little piece of stick in there. So you want to make sure you wash everything really good, okay? Now, let's take a look at this. Now we stir this, you can see starting to get brown, the onions, right? These mushrooms are not going to take a lot to wilt. You don't really want them to wilt hard. You want them to be kind of gently cooked, right? So they retain their delicate flavor. They're really good in broths too because the flavor when you do it in a broth kind of seeps out into the broth. But when you hard saute these, they're not like the right mushroom for that. Other mushrooms are, but not these. So at this point, we're going to put these in. Now, there's a little moisture on these pea greens from me washing them, which is fine. That's where we want them to be. That'll add moisture to this dish, right? To these onions, to the mushrooms. They're going to steam in here. Now, once we do this, so the mushrooms and stuff don't just get brown on the bottom, I lift them up to the top like this, stirring around, lifting up constantly, right? Like this. And you can see it's already cooking down nicely. Now, what I want to do at this point is add some more salt because these greens are going to need salt. Okay? And they're going to need a little acidity. So I'm going to add a little bit of lemon, half a lemon on the end, just to give nice flavor. So this is it. Our mushrooms have just been cooked down slightly. The onions have been caramelized slightly. And the pea greens have been cooked in like this. Okay? I'm going to add in my lemon juice. No seeds. Okay, I put the seeds over here. And that's it. Now, with that, I'm going to take this container here, my towel, and I'm just going to put these right in this warm bowl. And I'm going to leave this warm bowl on the stove top so it just stays warm. Okay? Now, this is a cast iron, so I'm just going to rinse this with water, and then I'm going to bring it back here, and we're going to cook the beef. So give me 2 seconds. Okay, we're back now, and I'm going to reach over here and grab this beautiful tenderloin. What I did was I just pulled it out of its packet and put a paper towel there so we capture any moisture. You can see with beef tenderloin, this is all beautiful tender meat. It's probably the most expensive part of the cow. You can see the nice marbling in that too. This is what they call upper choice. So it's there's prime, which is the 1% of the cows out there, and then you got just under that 1%, the ones that just didn't quite fit in, you got upper choice, and that's where you find your good deal, is in this upper choice. Maybe there's 2 or 3 cows that didn't get into that prime category. That's going to be a crazy amount of money. It still has really good fat and really good quality. So with this, I'm going to cut this in half because this is going to be for 2 of us. Now it's an 8 ounce. You could just leave that whole, but I'm just going to cut this in half like this. And then I'm going to, meanwhile, my pan is getting really hot here. and I'm going to put oil in there, let the oil get really hot. And while I do that, I'm going to put a lot of pepper on here. I'll put some on the plate too, because I'm just going to smear it around in there when I'm done. Okay, and then salt. So salt and pepper like this. Okay, I got more peppercorns on the plate here and salt. I'm smearing that all around. And that's it. Okay, now these are thin. These are going to cook quick. Okay, so we're not even going to go in the oven. So if you have a big piece like that, that's what I would suggest doing. Is I would suggest cutting these in half, doing 4 pieces. If you want to have 4 pieces for 2 people, that's fine as well. So with this, we're going to let that sear. I'm not going to mess with that. We're only going to flip this one time. So I'm going to let this cook on this side for about 2 minutes, and I'm going to be right back. Okay, you guys, it's been about 2 minutes now, and I know this is going to have a nice light sear on it. So what I'm going to look to do now is flavor this up a little bit. So I'm going to add in butter to this. Okay, like this. We're going to get a lot of steam. And I got some rosemary from the garden. I'm just going to pick that rosemary like this and put it in here. Okay, and I've got garlic cloves. I've got about, I don't know, about like 6 or 8 little tiny garlic cloves. I'm just going to drop those in. They're going to add nice flavor. I'm not going to eat those. I'm just going to use that for the flavor. Now, what I want to do is flip these over. You see how they're going to have a light sear on them? It has a nice caramelization, but I don't want to over caramelize it, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is move these around in here, and I'm going to work the butter onto these steaks, okay? Because what we're looking to do is just really butter them up. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay. Now, this last bit of cooking, we seared one side. This last bit of cooking is all going to be just butter basting. Okay. We're not going to cook these for too long. I just want to butter baste them like this. So the way that you do that is you keep that butter and that rosemary, all that cooking together with the garlic cloves. You're going to get all of that flavor in this oil and butter, this butter fat that's coming out of this, right? And that's what we're going to baste with. Now, we're at rare now. I'm going to stop this in a second because I'm going to let it sit for a second, okay? So, I'm going to take these off the heat. I'm going to give them just a second longer. But I sure as heck don't want to overcook them, right? I love the smell of rosemary with meat. Oh, it's just a match made in heaven, right? So that's it. So we've got basically our beef here. Now, we want to let this rest. Resting meat is an important part of the process, okay? And with this, I've got this beautiful butter here. I'm going to let that cook with the garlic for a second, and I'm going to pour it on top of this. But I want to pull the pumpkin out of the oven, and we're going to show you how to work with that. So give me 2 seconds. Okay, guys, here I have my pumpkin. You can see it's beautiful pumpkin, right? All I want to do is I've just cleaned it out of the seeds, right? And I've got it sitting here nice. And I just want to put a little bit of olive oil on it, okay, like this. Coat it nice with olive oil. I'm not going to put anything sweet on this one because I'm going to have this with my steak, and I'm going to add sweet at the end. But I do want to add some salt. So I'm putting about a teaspoon worth of salt on there, okay? And I'm going to put white pepper. So I've got some beautiful ground white pepper here. And the white pepper is going to add a nice flavor to it, but it's also not going to color it because I want to keep this beautiful rich color. I just think it's beautiful. And then with this, I'm going to wrap this up with the foil like this, and I'm going to put this in my oven for about, I don't know, probably about an hour and a half, probably like an hour. So I'm going to time it and give you guys the time we pull it out, okay? Okay, now my butter here, look at this beautiful butter. I'm just going to pour that, you hear that? It's going to pour that right on top of the beef here. And let it just bathe in that for a second while I do this pumpkin. Now, for this pumpkin, I'm going to take this garlic that's been cooking in here with that, and I'm going to put that garlic, some of the rosemary as well. I'm going to put that in here. These we'll put on top of this, our steak here, okay? And then any of this extra fat we're going to put in there. Now, what I'm going to also do is, I can pour this actually in there too. I want to take all the bits of that that beef scraps and all of that and put that in there. It's going to be beautiful. So now with this pumpkin, we're going to do is, this is really hot still. This just came out of the oven. You can see the skin here. Let me pull it over here so you guys can see it better. So you've got this beautiful pumpkin skin. So I'm just going to kind of press away at the skin here, right? And grab myself this flesh, okay? And again, it's really hot still. And I like to actually puree it while it's hot. When it gets cold, it doesn't puree as smooth and easy. You can see like the fat that's sitting on there from the oil that we put on there, nice olive oil. You could put butter in with these too. It's really nice. But this, it doesn't, you know, we're going to add so much butter at the end. It's going to be beautiful like that. So here all we're doing is taking the flesh off of the skin and putting it in here, okay? That's what you're looking to do. It's a little bit easier to work with when you let it cool down slightly. I wouldn't let it get cold, because then it, like, when you're blending it, it wants to seize up a little bit more, but you can let it get a little cooler than this. This is like right out, I just yanked it out of the oven and like here I go with it. So it makes it a little bit harder to deal with. So what I'm going to do is take it like this. Ow, it's hot. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, that's good enough for now. I can't stop eating it. So with this, I'm going to put butter in this. The rest of my butter. You guys are saying it's a lot of butter, but it's not a lot of butter. It needs plenty. Okay, now this is, I have this Pakistani red pepper that I got from Uma, a friend of mine that we've been cooking in the kitchen with a little bit. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of that in. If you don't have this, which you're not going to, probably, since she brought that back from overseas with her, you're going to have to use cayenne pepper or Espelette, any of those. So with this, I'm going to put salt, half a teaspoon, and I'm going to put extra virgin olive oil in there too. So I want to put that on my blender, and I'm going to start this. All right. Okay, that looks good. Like, what does it taste like? Wow, that's beautiful. So the only thing I forgot, I had the spice in there, was sweet, okay? So with the sweet, I'm gonna add honey. So here I'm gonna use probably 2 tablespoons of honey. And that is definitely going to finish this thing off. It doesn't need any more fat, any more salt. 'Cause, 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 That's it. Now let's try it. Wow. That's right on the money. So, all right. I'm going to clean this up. We're going to plate this up and eat. See you back in a second. Okay, you guys. I'm back. I've got my puree here. Okay. I've got those beautiful greens. So let's go ahead and add those to our dish here. I'm going to take these nice greens, lay those right here all over the plate. Oh, those look beautiful. Greens, mushrooms, and beautiful onions, sweet onions. Okay. That's perfect. Okay, now I've got, in addition to that, our beautiful puree, which I'm going to just put right here next to our dish. Gorgeous. All right. Then got these wonderful pieces of beef. Oh God, I gotta baste it with a little bit of that fat too, right? Look at that. Oh man, that looks good. Put a little of this fat on this one too. Okay, now, if you like, I have chimichurri in my refrigerator. We did a video on chimichurri. You can click up here to check out that video if you'd like. And I'm just gonna put a little bit on my steak and around the plate because I love herbs and vinegar and shallots with everything, especially with meat. So that's it. Hope you liked it. Let's try it. This looks amazing. The tenderloin is just such a beautiful, delicate piece of meat. Wow. The balance of those pea greens and mushrooms, it just tastes so spring-like almost, you know? Wonderful pumpkin is earthy and sweet. It's got a little bit of that spice that's in there. All great flavors. Super easy to do. You guys can do this at home really quick. That pumpkin takes the longest. That takes like an hour. So you just throw that in the oven when you come home from work, and then go about your evening, and then start to hammer out the rest of this dish in 10 minutes while you puree that right at the end. So super easy to do. You could have done that in a little bit of NutriBullet too. Any of that works. So hope you like the recipe. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you back in my kitchen soon. I'm Chef Dean Max.